Jay, the Knicks are in this incredible run recently. It's not just that they've won 7 in a row or they beat the Nets, but it's the way they're beating teams. They're beating the snot out of the bad teams. They're beating good teams, right? Like they beat the Celtics. They're looking really good. And Jalen Brunson is one of the rare stars who signed in New York City in any sport who's out kicking their coverage, right? He's outperforming his contract, it seems to me, by a lot. But it brings up the question to me, and I know they were in the conference finals last year, but the idea last year with Luka is he needs some more. He needs some more. I know I'm watching Brunson now thinking, how much more? I mean, they lost Brunson, and now they lost other people. Now they replaced it with Kyrie, but I still don't hear the Mavs talked about, like, oh, they're supposed to win a championship this year. Does it say something about Luka? And I know conference finals is a great achievement. But does it say something about Luka that even with Brunson, like I knew Brunson was good. I didn't know he was this good. And even with Brunson, that was their limit. They needed even more.
Well, it's not as easy as just swapping out Jalen Brunson and Kyrie Irving. I mean, the Dallas Mavericks also lost Spencer Dinwiddie. They lost Dorian Finney-Smith, their best wing defender. Right? They lost depth. But this team was different last year with Jalen Brunson. Now, look, I think the trade has helped me find out more about Jalen Brunson than it does about Luka Doncic. I already know who Luka Doncic is. I know he's one of the most prolific scorers the game of basketball has ever seen. I've always known Jalen Brunson to be a culture-like guy, right? I played with his father, Rick Brunson, with the Chicago Bulls, all right? Rick was that dude that every day in practice, and little Jalen was around us at practice during these times, where I will always leave practice with claw marks on my damn forearms, right? Because Rick would be scratching me, clawing me. He was relentless. So watching Jalen grow up, that's exactly how Jalen played. And those guys are important to organizations because they hold people accountable. They're not afraid to give you tough love and tell you what time it is. So I said it from day one when Jalen Brunson took that $100 million with the Knicks. I'm like, this in a couple of years is going to look like one of the best deals in the NBA. And by the way, he's great for the culture of your team because they had no leadership.
But I want to get back to Luka for a second, Jay. What I mean is this. If you look at the counting numbers, well, of course they're going to go up away from Luka. He's going to be a higher usage player. But if you look at the efficiency numbers, now look, you say whatever you want about PER. It's basically a crude efficiency stat, but it's a pretty good one as those kind of crude, quick calculation efficiency stats go. What are you doing per possession, mostly on offense? His PER was 17.1 2 consecutive seasons. That's if at 15 is like an average starter. 17, that's a nice starter. It's over 21 now. That's all-star. So it's not just the usage is going up, and therefore the raw numbers, the efficiency is going up with it, and that's quite a trick. So the reason I go back to Luka is the real test of players like Luka. Or do you elevate the players around you, right? This is what Phil Jackson thought about Michael Jordan early on, right? When can he elevate the players around? This is why Magic Johnson, LeBron James, Larry Bird, these are the legends of the game. They elevated the people around them, even as they're scoring a lot, whether or not they're scoring a lot. Luka Doncic had this all-star on his team who looked like a nice little player, as we say on this show, right? But it turns out is more than that. And and that was not really understood until he got away from Luka. Does that reveal anything about Luka's ability or inability to elevate the players around him?
No. I mean, look, Luka is a ball-dominant guard. Like, it's any other guard. It's the reason why we saw James Harden and CP3 have to learn how to work together, right? Now, I think James has more the ability to play off the ball than Luka does. I'd rather have the ball be in Luka's hands. But when you actually look at the numbers, I mean, the amount of time that these guys have the ball in their hands dwarf any other person on their team. So all of a sudden, when Jalen goes to a different team, now he is their version of Luka with the ball in his hands. You're going to see him elevate. And now, actually, Kyrie brings a different set of skills and weapons to the table, minus shooters, so Luka does have to do more.
So what does Luka need to win a championship? Because one, he's a high usage player, and when you watch him, you go, I guess there are better players than this, right? But boy, watching him, it's hard to imagine who they are because he's pretty awesome, running your offense. But he needed more than he had, and he had a bit to win a championship because he hasn't done
they
it
went
yet.
after Christian Wood. Christian Wood hasn't really panned out as much as they would like for him to.
So what would it
now
take?
They have Kyrie. They're getting Maxi Kleber back. That's going to be huge. He's probably their best defender that they have on the roster right now. Having him back makes a difference.
Kleber, you mean?
Kleber, yeah, sorry. Like, so I think maybe like one more piece, but frankly, like he has with where the West is, like he has enough.
And yet you're not predicting them to win a championship anytime.
No, because I think Denver is ultimately the better team.
But this is what I mean. At the top,
think Phoenix is a better team
easy
on
to get
paper.
lulled into that to me, where people are like, yeah, no, look, he's great. He could easily win a championship. But I like this team and this team and this team more, right? Well, their central, their central gravitational force, their leader, their best player.
But also, Max, last year they were way better, and it wasn't great. They were a way better defensive team.
Who, the Mavs?
The Mavs. Way better defensive
but this
team.
is one of the issues with Luka. You're going to be you have one spot on defense.
But that's not an issue with Luka. That's the issue of the personnel around Luka, right? So like, Luka isn't the best defensively, but if I put great defensive players around him who have the ability to space the floor and shoot, it's a different type of scenario.
But Jay, I see a guy like Steph. He at least puts effort into defense. Do you see Luka as a guy who's going to show up on defensively?
But you're not putting. But Max, I can scheme out of it. Like I'm not putting Luka on the best offensive player to guard him. I'm hiding Luka.
Give me an example.
James Harden gets hit all the time.
Give me an example. If Luka's your best player, give me a roster around him that you could fit under the cap that you say, yes, I actually think
that's a lot. That you can fit under the cap.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's part of it. But maybe Luka needs a little more than some other superstars. That's what it sounds like you're saying to me. And if he needs a little more, then he's a little under some of the other superstars. If he needs a little less, then he's a little right? Does KD need as much as Luka to win a championship?
I mean,
does Giannis need as much as Luka?
Wait. KD has Devin Booker and Chris Paul.
Sure. I'm asking a question.
Okay. I mean, like, if you put, and he has DeAndre Ayton.
Swap Giannis and Luka. Are the Bucks still the best team in the East?
No, Giannis is different.
Yes, right. The personnel you'd need a little different.
Yes.
But do you need as much around Giannis as you need around Luka? More or less? Do you need as much around LeBron, around KD, around Embiid, around Jokic? That's one of the ways I think you can determine who you actually think are the best players in the game. And I'm just asking the question about Luka. Does the Brunson absence, does his success where he's taken it to another level, I get on the Knicks, say something about Luka. I get guys like Brandon Ingram. Would Brandon Ingram ever become Brandon Ingram if he's on the same team with LeBron James? Because they both need the ball, right? And maybe it's something like that. But I'm asking the question because Brunson not only is higher usage and therefore compiling more numbers, he's more efficient and they're winning.
Mm-hmm. I think as it relates to Luka, like Luka has to end up giving the ball up more.
Okay, this is
right.
Where
Like that's what he has to end up because the ball sticks to his hands a lot, so it ends up being a little bit of a similarity between him and James Harden.
Yes.
Right. Like, but so like it's you're asking him to do more, but I mean he has enough.
But you ever go to McDonald's with your mom takes you to McDonald's? They have the little mazes, right? On the little kids menu thing, like one of these little restaurants, they give you the kids menu, and you do the maze, and it looks like you're getting close to the end, but it's actually a dead end. So all that way you went, actually, that was the wrong path. I think sometimes players like James Harden and Luka Doncic.
James Harden could have won a championship. CP3 doesn't get hurt. Like there's
maybe, but when it came down to it, even without CP3,
he didn't show up.
In the moment of truth, he didn't
show up.
Hit the shots, right?
But he was still outmanned.
He was. But this is what I mean, Jay. James Harden got you closer to a title than you ought to have gotten, but ultimately couldn't get you over the top. That's what I'm asking, I guess, philosophically. Are players who are as ball dominant as Harden and Luka, even if they have the apparent skills to elevate players, when you see players leave and do better without them,
a different type of elevation.
Is it actually a dead end?
So here's, and I'll be real quick with this. It's a different type of elevation. Look, what LeBron does, and when he elevates, he does a lot of hockey assist. So what that does is I'm relieving myself of the accountability. Here, make a play. I'm kicking the ball ahead. Make a play.
Trusting your teammates.
That's way different than me bringing the ball over half court, pounding it.
Waiting for 5 seconds on the shot clock.
8 or 9 seconds. And then it gets down to 5 seconds in the shot clock, and I say, here, make a shot.
So is that kind of player a dead end to a championship? That's what I'm asking.
I'm never going to call a player a dead end to a championship. I think Luka has all the skills to win a championship. It's about him understanding where his game is, to relinquish some of the control, to allow players to get to that point where they can have more accountability. Because I'm sure Jalen Brunson felt like he had that same type of accountability. It just feels different because now this is his team.
So, right. When I say dead end, what I'm saying really is if they continue to play that way. What you're saying is they have the ability, there is the possibility that their game can grow and mature to the point where they can do all the things they do and lift up their team, right? But he's going to have to take the next step to do that. I guess
just because you can do all things doesn't mean you have to do them.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN Plus right now.